All right. Welcome, everyone, to Living Well today. I'm Angela, your host, and I have a beautiful soul with me today who I'm so thrilled to call friend and colleague and now guest on Living Well today, and that is Lanette Gerau. Welcome, Lanette.
Thanks, Angela.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much for taking time. I know you have a very full plate. So we're just going to dig right in today and we're going to hear about your journey and your projects and initiatives, things that matter to you. We're going to hear about the challenges and the concerns and as well as the opportunities, the way that you've transformed different turning points in your life through those life lessons along the way. And then we're also going to learn a little about what's on the horizon for you, where you're headed next, what lights you up, and how you build beauty and balance and harmony into your life. So how does that sound?
Wonderful. I'm so excited.
Does that sound good? Okay. All right. So let's begin at the beginning. Why don't you share a little bit about who you are, where you live in the world, and then we'll go back to where things began for you professionally and personally.
Okay, so I'm Lanette Gerau, and I live in Missouri, about 50 miles south of St. Louis, in a little town called Bloomsdale, which is ironic that Angela and I are friends.
Blooming.
That's right. That's right. So we moved here about 2.5 years ago from St. Louis, which is where we raised our two kids, and Luke and Kristen. And so we're just enjoying the country life and we're settled in. It's been, almost 3 years now, and just excited to be here and be able to work at home so that I can enjoy all of this incredible beauty that's like whatever window I look out of, I
all
see
that
green.
nature, all that
Yes.
nature. So when you made that move, because that's a big move, and a lot of families are doing it seemingly more and more, right? You see these swings in migration of people going to the city and then away from the city into the suburbs. And then there's been a real, I think probably since the pandemic, don't you think? Like a
Yeah.
real departure from even that and going even more rural. Was your husband is Wally, and you've been married almost 33 years, is that right? Yeah.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. So you and your best friend, right? So was Wally totally on board? This was like a decision you came to together to say, let's craft a life where there's different energy and something new.
Yes, he's actually been talking about it forever, which really surprised me as the years went on, because I just thought it was talk. He grew up a city boy, like literally he has alleys in his backyard, which I grew up
Wow.
in this county. So I'm home in this county. And so I was surprised when we got the opportunity, because we had talked that we wouldn't move this far south from the city. He still makes the drive every day. And
Whoa.
so,
Let's wait a minute. He makes the drive every day. How far is his drive?
well, it was about 50 miles, 50
Okay.
minutes, 50 minutes when we moved here, but then they shut down 2 lanes of highway both ways. And so now it can be like an hour and 15 minutes sometimes.
He probably listens to audiobooks on tape, etc. I would think to help pass the time.
Yes. He's got his radio stations plugged in, and that's kind of his pastime for getting home. So when he comes home, I work at home, so I try to make life very simple for him, because I know that traffic is just a nightmare. It's literally a nightmare. I don't know why they did this, but it is what it is. So here we are.
Yeah. So you've made the move, and now you mentioned more than once that you work from home. That wasn't always the case.
That
That
was
wasn't always
not
the
the
case.
case.
All
No.
right. So
So
take us back into those days of, like, what did you go to school for? What did you really love when you were younger? And then take us on down that path.
okay. So I went to college and I chose to study marketing. And why did Lanette choose to study marketing? Well, because I knew I was going to work in business one day. I wasn't one of those people who knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I knew I was going to be in business one day, and I'd never heard of the term marketing. So why not learn about it, right? No kidding. That's why I chose to major in marketing.
I love it.
And so that was my studies. And then when I graduated, like most college graduates, it takes a couple jobs to land somewhere to feel comfortable. And so
Yes.
I had a couple, two or three of those kind of jobs. And then I landed in a small business in footwear and loved these people. I mean, everything I did was absolutely wonderful. But
And
the
you were with them a
economy,
long time. You were with
well, I
them.
was actually with this small company for like 5 or 7 years. And
Okay.
then the economy took a downturn and the shoe business started to tank. Actually, we designed the shoes for some major shoe brands. And so it was just, being in that creative environment was absolutely amazing. Just the energy of these creative people just really inspired me to be the best version of me. But the economy tanked, and so they closed their doors. That was actually when Luke was born, because I came in right after maternity leave, and they were like, we need you to help like wrap things up. And so I came back and we set a playpen up in the office and shut down the business basically. And then their son, who was the designer, actually went to work for corporate America. And so I went over and I joined a corporate America, which was Brown Shoe Company here in St. Louis at the time. And, through those years, I was just blessed to be surrounded by people who really cared about their people. And so, life was good. I was growing professionally and just really challenged in my work. And then, of course, as it happens to most of us, roadblocks come. And at this point, I had been with them for probably 15 years, I think,
Yeah, a
14,
long time.
a
Okay.
long time. So this was my
Now,
long journey.
can I ask with, 'cause when people hear corporate America, they don't think of, I was so blessed to be, the majority
Right.
of, I
Yeah.
was so blessed in this family and this company, and they really cared about their people. That's like a disconnect from what most people perceive corporate America to be.
Right.
Um, so what do you think, as you reflect back on that time, don't you think it just is all to do with the owners, the people who set the
Yes.
tone, the leadership that sets the tone for the rest of the culture?
Absolutely. And I actually worked for a division that had been a small company for many, many years. And this corporation had recently purchased
It
them.
bought them.
And
Okay.
so
So
the
they
culture
still
was
set some of that
still,
personality. Oh,
yes, yes.
okay.
And
Makes
actually,
sense.
the of the 14 years I was there, if it was 15 years, of the 14 years I worked in that department, and it was family. I mean, it
Mm.
was family. It just, we celebrated life together. We walked through challenges. It was work, but it wasn't work because we really cared about each other. And
Supported each other. Right.
yes, yes. And then they closed that division and I went to work for another division, and that's where the roadblock came. And so I was in a new department, and despite my being there, 15 years at this point, going on 15 years, we had a family situation come up, and I just really felt like all my years here, and this is how I'm treated. And
Mm.
so, and there were other issues in this department, but to me, that was the big deal. I really needed to take care of this a family situation, and it just didn't work. And my husband is so perceptive of me inwardly. I think sometimes more so than I am, because he saw this months out and he started planting the seed. Lanette, you need to address this. And it got to the point where he's like, Lanette, you're going to have a nervous breakdown. And so you need to quit. I mean, these were real conversations we're having. And I'm like, "Oh, I can't quit. Are you kidding? I have 6 weeks vacation. I've got a pension. I was doing the insurance at that time. I'm like, what are you talking about? But we just really prayed about it, and Holy Spirit laid on us that, yeah, you need to take this break. And it wasn't an easy break for me.
I'm sure. I'm sure it was just, a
Yeah.
mixed bag of so much stuff.
It was, and
Yeah.
as a college graduate, and at this point in time, I may have been the only college graduate in my family as I'm thinking back. My brother did military. And so yeah, and so this success thing was driving me.
Yes, it was this whole other story that you had shaped to say there's an expectation of where the role I'm supposed to be playing, right? And the
Right.
provider stuff for my family. I mean, all of that stuff comes into play. The stories your parents told you when you were, that you should be leveraging and applying what you've learned, right? All of that stuff.
All that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I quit. And I was able to take care of the family situation. And, it was probably 3 or 4 months before I could finally kind of realize that that's being taken care of. And now what are you going to do?
Right. I mean, because I would think too, just from mere routine, right? Muscle memory of doing something for so long. I know that that was a very strange thing for me when I made the leap and my alarm not going off, and then suddenly, creating new rituals and
Right.
wanting to be pulled back into the old rituals and saying, I've got to let some of that go. It's not an easy
It
thing
was
at all.
it was hard, but looking back on it was my journey.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to entrepreneurship. And so it was probably 18 months before I went back to work. And I found an opportunity. It was a home party business. And I still love and support these products. But I did that. And, again,
And you were
back to
very successful. You were very successful with that business.
I was working like 20 nights a week, and I'd worked my way up to the top 1% of this company. And for me, I was like, woo woo. It was a lot of fun. I was meeting a ton of new people, and just people who were really interested in better health and doing better for their family. And so that's one of my values, and so I just really loved it. But then I remember back, we were on an incentive trip in Mexico. At the Hard Rock Hotel south of Cancun. And we're sitting in the pool, and hardly anybody was there. And Wally's like, "So do you really want to do this forever?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then that flag goes off. I think this is
Right.
something we need to talk about.
Yeah. When he asks that kind of question, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Right.
And at this point, the kids are in middle school. And
Okay.
so, and I'm learning to trust him more and more because, so many times he's like on target, and I'm like back here trying to catch up with him. And this is
And
of
you're
me.
focused on the work. You're focused on the work that's in front of you. I mean, that's we've had some couples on the show. It's interesting to hear how the dynamics within that close relationship can really support one another if you're willing to receive it, right?
Right.
If you're willing to receive that support and have an open mind.
And he's
So,
he's my rock. I mean, he is he is earth solid when it comes to keeping an eye on me. So yeah, so I did that, but then it was time to pivot. And so, it was a hard pivot. It was so I still support my team and my customers. But there
now, how
weren't
long ago was that? I'm sorry, Lynette. How
Oh,
long
that's
ago?
okay. That was, oh gosh, 5 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
So
So you
yeah,
still stay in touch with that network of people,
yes.
even over this
Pretty
amount
much.
of
I
time.
mean,
Yeah,
things people fall off just because,
sure.
it's the
Life.
path of
Yeah,
life. Life
yeah,
happens exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, but so I still do that, and then I decided that I was working with a coach at the time to help me build my business. And so now I'm going to her going, well, we kind of made this decision, and now I need you to coach me this way.
What
So
mentioning that, what has your experience been with coaches and coaching, and how do you think they play, at least for you, how have they played a vital role
oh
in
my
your
gosh.
journey?
my coach, I still connect with her, more in a friendship way now.
Yeah.
But she really set me on the path, and her company is called The Values Conversation. And your first conversation with her is what's important. And so going through that values conversation, Lisa just put me on a path to surrounding me with the things that are important and taking action on things that are important, and those things that aren't just fall off because
Letting them die on the vine, so to speak. Right.
absolutely. And
Right.
so she challenged me, she taught me, um so many times, things are rooted deep in your childhood of,
Yes.
who you are and all that stuff. But what I loved is that we talked about that this much to help her understand where I'm coming from, but then it just blossomed out into what
Right.
can
You
be.
didn't spend a lot of time focusing on something that was back
Ex-
there, right? That you had no control over. But for perspective, it's helpful. It's helpful to springboard to
Absolutely.
know how to frame things moving forward. Well, I've found it, and we've talked about this pattern in many different ways, in stepping into your power. And when we've talked about it on Joseph Land's show. Many of you know both of what we're talking about here. And that mentorship is really vital, particularly for when you consider, and this is the thematic we've talked about too, don't you think it's incredibly vital of who you surround yourself with, the circles that you
Absolutely.
travel in?
Yes.
I know
Yes.
that that's important to you. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things too that early on, I had people in my life, and it's that repeat of, I call it the itty bitty shitty committee. Can I say that?
Yes, you
But
can.
but it's those people who are not breathing life into you, but are breathing everything else that you wonder why you're spinning out of control. And so when you can release
Tractors,
them,
little detractors, just
yes,
sapping,
yes.
sapping,
And
sapping.
so
Yeah.
when I released that, oh my gosh. I mean, it's freedom, there's peace, and there's growth in that because I
And
was
there's
able
growth.
to focus on taking steps that really mattered to me as opposed to what's circling back over here in all these other worlds.
Yes. Well, and I see the butterflies on your screen. So as you've made that's what it reminds me of, is this lightening up, this lifting, because you're not shackled by that downward energy anymore, and the pulling back and the pulling back. And then it does cause, because even the strongest of us and the most resilient of us love our friends and love our family, because that's part of who we are. And so I wouldn't say like a constant, I'm trying to please everyone else over myself, but particularly as women, we have this feeling of wanting to make sure, is everybody else okay? Is everybody okay? And so you all of a sudden, after a while, you realize, well, wait a minute, in tending to making sure everyone else is okay, I'm not okay.
That's right. Oh, yes. Been there,
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah.
And that's really when I learned about taking time for me.
Mm.
And I never took time for me. It was always about somebody else, whether it was the church we were involved in, the neighborhood, the kids, everybody else, because that's
Sometimes
what
other people's kids, like, right,
exactly,
right,
exactly. And
right, like the
I
neighbor.
enjoyed all of it. But what I
Yeah, yeah.
realized is that I cannot continue to give and give and give and not balance with taking care of me. And
Yes,
when I
yes.
learned that, that was one of those life-changing moments as
Big
well.
aha moments, big shifts upward.
Right,
So let's
right.
talk about that. What, in the form of, because you taking care of you blended with what you're doing now in the world, with your projects and the work in the world that you're helping fuel. They meet this really cool integration of things, right? So talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about your introduction to Circle of Chi, and the energy work and the breath work and all of the spiritual work that you do now, that you get to apply in your work every day.
And that's the beautiful part is my my daily practices are part of my work. And
Mm,
it's beautiful. I mean, again, I'm just so blessed to have this opportunity because I came into this um, doing the 45-day renewal. Okay. When I found Circle of Chi website, I I found them not as an employee, but as someone seeking for a healthier, you know, mind, a healthier body, you know, growing closer to God. I mean, it's just so many things that, on my heart just is desires. And this website was like, wow. And this 45-day renewal is these simple exercises. I mean, I have my parents doing these exercises and they're 82. Now they do the sitting ones, and then there's standing ones, but anybody can do these exercises and they love them. They do it sometimes twice a day. And that's really exciting. But yeah, so I came into this and literally they just put out in one of their newsletters that they were looking for help. And if you were interested, send us your resume. And, after COVID, I hit a job that, it, it was an okay job. I was doing great. Um, but when I saw this, I was like, oh, this sounds really interesting, because I was doing the renewal. And
yes.
so I filled out an application, or I sent in my resume, and less than a few days, they called me. We set up a Zoom. I was hired. And so early on, I was working on another project, and just a small percentage was devoted to Circle of Chi and Master Lama Rasaji. And then I got the opportunity. They came to me and asked if I would want to work on the project 100% of the time. And I was like, yes, I would love that. Because at this point, I am now not only doing the daily exercises, but I'm learning about some other things. There's a column exercise and a mirror meditation and just beautiful things that we can do to be a better version of who God created us to be. And I'm growing closer to God. And so now I'm doing all this stuff, and now I'm going to work and I get to promote it. And
Well, and the
that was really
interesting
cool.
thing, Lynette, is that your circle, literally and metaphorically, the circle of people that you're surrounded with. I mean, if you took a snapshot of the people, the fellow human beings that you are now working with, collaborating with, creating with, praying with on a day-to-day basis, take that snapshot and then compare that snapshot, I don't know, to maybe 5 years ago or 7 or 8, 10 years ago. It has to be like a complete transformation, like the butterflies on your screen, right? I would think.
It is. And the people along the journey have just helped me get to where I am. And that's what life is for all of us. It's taking the people who come on our path and figuring out what's there for us to learn, to grow, to transform. And this has just been my path to where I am. And so, yeah, what we do here at Circle of Chi is we help families, individuals gain their health. We don't cure anything, right? These simple exercises, but like for me, my personal experience, my monkey mind, that busy
Yeah.
craziness in the mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
my my mind functions so much slower now. And my thoughts, I actually can like think and pause as opposed to just constantly being flooded with thoughts. And I love that.
Uh-huh.
And so the whole breathing, and I back when I was pregnant, you learn the breathing, but when you practice it every day, there's just a peace. And one of the things that Master Lama Rasaji has taught us, and I just love this, is Yahweh. Actually, that name of Jesus came from, because God's the breath of life, right?
The
And
breath of life.
Yahweh, if you think of Yah when you inhale, Yah, and then when you exhale, way, and God being the breath of life. And so when I heard that, that just elevated my need desire to want to do more deep breathing. And so it's so important for every part of our body, the circulation and all the systems, for our breath to be healthy. And so I love that. And so, just so our health can be improved just by through this Tai Chi Gong
Just through the
system.
breath. Yes, yes.
And when you learn to work in the synchronicities of what God is putting in front of you and recognizing them and taking action on the synchronicities, wealth. And a lot of people are like, oh, prosperity. Oh, can't do that. No, the Bible says, I mean, Jesus came to give us life and to give us life abundantly. And so wealth is important. And how does that manifest in our life? And I love that in Master Lama Rasaji's Circle of Chi book, he covers 2 chapters on money. And when you look at the Bible, I'm a lifelong Christian, Jesus lover, all the above. But God talks about, or I'm sorry, Master Lama Rasaji talks in 2 chapters, and then in the Bible, how many times is the word money mentioned, right? And so it is important. And so, God's kingdom needs to be financed. If we're going to change this world and start bringing more good into this world, we have to finance that. It's just the reality that we're in.
It's
And
just
so,
another form of that energy and of love and support.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then, our budgets have to be financed as well. And so we help our members bring more revenue into their budget if, they want to do that. We offer ways. We have ways that we can help people do
Yeah,
that
and
as
people
well.
can find it if there are anyone who's on here or sees this in the future, they can find it at circleofchi.com. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
That's right.
So yes, and I know I when I bump up against folks who don't really understand that prosperity equation, and how it is an extension of you, how you foster happiness around your money, that it's actually a very natural thing, and that it's a necessary thing to allow you to do, to prop you up and to support you in allowing you to create the beauty and the harmony for yourself, for others, for your community. It's one form of energy, and it's how our particular world utilizes and leverages a big part of energy, right? Is through that. And I know, Lanette, you introduced me. I think I talked about it once before, how excited I was. I think I called you and said how excited I was when I went into the silver and gold, and how I felt like a little kid, because it was another version of money in a way that I felt was very authentic, and in line with what was next for me. And it may not be for everybody, but I know for me, for where I'm at in my life, it's become a vital part of who I am and how I express. And I love the silver and gold. I was at where I was last night. I was showing some folks and they've never actually held gold. Like, okay, you've got golden necklaces and but they've never actually held gold coins. They've never actually held silver bars, silver bullion. And it's fascinating to me. And I know that that's a big part of your life too.
Yes, yes. And those precious metals, that's God's money.
God's money.
He created that.
It's the only real money.
Absolutely. That's right. This fiat stuff, fiat faith, I guess we could call it.
Fiat faith. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Whatever 4-letter word you want to call it, right?
Just done something. Yeah, Amy says it's a wonderful feeling. Yes, yes, it is. It truly is. So talk a little bit about, as you look to the horizon, as you are fueled forward in your faith and with your family, some of the lessons that you've learned in life have been quite difficult. And this month is, or yesterday, in fact, was World Mental Health Day. Really, 365 days a year is Mental Health Day, right? Absolutely. So Circle of Chi has played a big part in that, but Circle of Chi has only come into your life within the last couple of years. You had to cultivate your faith in different ways and your trust in different ways. Can you share a little bit with to whatever degree you're open to doing, share a little bit about the challenges that your family has faced and what words you could impart to other families that might bump up against something similar?
Yeah. So we have dealt with suicide. Um, it's the hardest thing. I walked through that when I was, I think I was a sophomore or junior in high school. One of my friends had just asked me to go to prom and hadn't given an answer yet. And within weeks, took his life. And so that was a challenge. So, words can't even describe that. And so I'm not even going to try. But that the pain is so real and it's raw and it just lasts a long, long time. And if you don't question God through this, you aren't human.
Right,
Um,
right,
because it's a test. It was a test for me. It was a test for my spouse. Um, and it was a test for my kids, and that was probably the hardest thing. I mean, as adults, we expect to go through hard times, and nobody ever expects to walk through suicide, but we expect challenges. But when we have to walk through this and walk through it with our children, the grief in that is I just can't even describe the level of grief that we had. But the first suicide we dealt with, Kristen was just a few months old, and I was still nursing her. And because of the stress from the suicide, I had to, I wasn't nourishing her. And so now the doctors are telling me I have to stop. And that was another grieving. Here I am grieving, my family member, and now I'm grieving that I can't even feed my new infant.
right.
That was hard. That was kind of the beginning of a spiral for me. And you start questioning, my
Everything.
gosh,
Everything.
everything. Why God, why are we doing this? I can't feed my baby. If I can't feed my baby, how can I be a mother to her? I mean, this is
Right,
where I was. And
right.
for those that don't know, we did some suicide family counseling, and we learned that after you walk through this, someone so close to you, now the percentage of uh, people that commit suicide following that is escalated exponentially. Statistics are off the charts. I don't remember the numbers, but I just know. And so I have that in the back of my head going, why is this
But worrying
happening?
about what could potentially happen next. And
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
that's a real thing, Lynette. Like when it happens once in a family, it
Yes.
has the propensity to fuel another one.
Yes. And so I'm
My
seeing what
goodness.
I'm going through, but I don't feel like I can say anything because my husband and children are going through this as well.
Right, right. And you want to
So
try and keep everything as peaceful. Oh my
right,
goodness.
right.
Oh
And
my goodness.
so it was, now the kids were little on the first one, but the second one, my kids were middle school and elementary. And this was a young person, a young family member. And so yeah, so seeing them go through this, and that the snowball just came and came. And I just prayed. I had God in my life then, and I prayed. We were at a great church, and they supported us, and prayed with us, and it was day to day. Sometimes it was minute to minute, and sometimes I just would throw in the towel and scream, Take over, God, I can't do this anymore."
Yeah,
And he did. He
yeah,
did. I mean, so
yeah.
much of it is a blur because he did.
I bet. I bet. Because
um
that's a protection for you too. Your brain and your heart and your body gets to a point where that giving over is necessary. You have to do that. And
yeah.
and there's and I've done that so many different times, not to the degree I have not, thank goodness, I've not experienced that directly. My college roommate, her daughter was just a few weeks older than my daughter, and her daughter took her own life when she was 13 years old. And I see Alana, on social media, and this was a decade ago, and it's still as real and raw.
Mhm.
And you see her find symbols and ways and things to keep her faith and her joy and on some level going, because she has two other daughters,
Right, right.
right? And so I can't even begin to appreciate trying to find that balance of grieving while protecting, while trying to be the mom and the strong one, and it's just. So what did you learn about yourself?
Oh my
I know
goodness.
I know what you learned about God. I know that
Well,
because
and
the way
he
you
held us
speak
in the
today.
palm of his hand through the whole thing. I mean, like I said, it's really is those, some of those years are just a blur. But fast forward, um, and recently I got a call from one of my kids, and it was fairly late at night, asking for prayer for a friend. And they were able to recognize that this person was really struggling. And I've
Yeah,
told my kids, all through their life, the challenges that God gives us, He's going to use them to bring glory to Him. We're going to be able to, these hard times, these sad stories, we're going to glorify Him with this. This is how God works. But we never saw that until recently. And I got a phone. It was 10 o'clock at night, and I got a phone call, and as mom, you answer your call, your phone, whenever. And so we prayed, and, you know, he's going to be by this friend and help this friend through, because that's what he knows. And he knows that this is his opportunity that God's giving him because of what he's went through to help somebody else.
to be
And that's,
strong and to be, yeah, and to be
yeah.
there, to know how
And
to guide that person.
yeah. And over the years, I've had a few different opportunities to just breathe life into people that are walking through this tragedy, and assuring them that it is okay, that we are going to be okay, that God is there, and just helping them. And we actually have a member now who is dealing with this. And I don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call, just because I remember how that felt. And to have a support group around you, I just can't imagine, other than losing a child, I can't imagine anything else in life that's more raw than this.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so that, but through that, we it doesn't go away, but now we just get to glorify God in the walk, the journey that He gave us to walk through, and be a light as much as we can in those dark days for people who it is still very, very raw and
Yeah.
recent.
Yeah. And
So
it's so, the weight of the world right now is so real for so many. And I think I did a word of the week this week, yesterday. Was it yesterday? Is today? No, 2 days ago. Oh my goodness. The week is just phew. um, on illuminate and being that light.
mm,
Talk a little bit about, as you go through the column exercise, as you do your Tai Chi Gong, as you select projects, because I know you've got a new project we're going to talk briefly about in a second, that's important to you and important to a lot of your members. And I know I'm a part of that as well now. And but as you select the projects you're going to invest your light, your love, your energy in, what matters to you when you're looking at, because you have to make those discernments now. This isn't 15 years ago, or when you left the corporate and you had 18 months to sit back and reflect. You don't have a lot of time to reflect right now. So you are on a mission. You have a mission right now. And I'm not saying, I know that you invest in keeping balance through your Tai Chi Kung. You are very, very devoted and committed to certain things. So you have to have discernments around what you select to do next. And can you talk about, what do you have, like a little mental criteria of selecting what you will and won't do? Because I know
Uh,
so many of us want to say yes to everything, right? And you can't say.
yes. And because of our growth that we're having right now, it's hard to say no. And so I'm getting that voice, and we're figuring it out. But what drives me is I want to see people. We all have obstacles. I mean, it just is. That's life. But helping people overcome them, talk about what you learn, how you grow, how you use those opportunities to transform into that perfect image that God created us. I mean, ultimately that's the goal, right? Is to reach that level of illumination. And so nothing excites me more than seeing other people realize that that's what they're going through. And so Circle of Chi gives me that opportunity in multiple ways. We just launched this new platform. We'll talk a little bit about that after a while, but I lead the gathering, which is my background. And it's a Wednesday night group where our members come together and we just connect. And so we have people from all over the world that join us every week, and we become like family. We have a soon to be new mom in our group. We have people struggling with physical ailments. We have people struggling with depression. We have people, celebrating all kinds of things in life. And that's what we do. We come together. And so,
And it's a safe space. It's a safe space for people to be able to show up as they are, right? With their story.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we just talk about our challenges and our successes every week. We pray together, and we do a lot of laughing too. So we have a lot of fun. Uh, and I'm super excited about this Wednesday night. So it's going to be a little different flavor than normally, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We have something different planned. So
wonderful. We'll talk about your latest project and why you're fired up about it. And it kind of does it plays certainly into your strengths because you've had experience in this kind of arena before, but also kind of wrap into that, because I want to make sure we touch on the creative passions and the things that you love to do creatively outside of Circle of Chi that light you up and give you the energy necessary to do all the work that you want to do.
all right. So one of the things I love about this new financial platform is I have gotten to that point in my life where I celebrate the joy of doing it, as opposed to the pressure I used to put on me to achieve something. And
now let's go a little, there's some really important nuance there. So the joy of going through it, the joy of doing it, the mere act of doing something, as opposed to pressure about a particular outcome on something. Is that what I heard correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Beautiful.
And so if I focus on the joy in the process, God wants us to be joyful. And so if I just elevate myself to that level of joy, he just works through me. And I don't understand it, but he just does. And now that I know that, I can let go of that pressure to achieve, because to me, it's more fun to be joyful. and now that I've seen,
right? Who knew?
I know we make life so complicated.
Yeah, I know. We make it so hard.
This is one of those things that I'm just like, okay, God, if I can be joyful and you still work, I'm all in. I'm all in.
Right. Everybody wins. That is the epitome of the win-win.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. We call that the Enoch effect over at Circle of Chi, the win-win situation. But we have this new financial program that we've launched, and it's to help us as Circle of Chi be able to acquire some land here in North America. But because of this, we need to finance hopefully thousands and thousands of acres, right? But we're launching this new Visa debit program. It's going to help families double their buying power and save a ton of money. It's going to be introduced soon, so it's in the pre-launch phase. And so with this crazy economy, when somebody says double your buying power, my brain goes, I am now paying double. I'm not kidding. I'm paying double for my favorite cookies right now. And if I can double my buying power, that's going to help my family budget. And
Well,
so
the thing that attracted me to this model, and I want to make sure that we offer up a website where people can go to learn more about it as well.
okay.
Is that, Joseph Land at JL Capital has talked about this for some time. So has Versace, and that is creating our own economy, in a sense, right? Creating our own chamber of commerce, the way to be able to trade with one another, to support one another, and to create wealth together. I think that's pretty darn powerful. And I think that I go back to the premise that I always promote, and that is we are stronger together than we am alone, than we are alone. We're stronger together than we are divided. So united together. And I don't know, knowing that I can lock arms with like-minded, spirit-minded, intellectually and emotionally minded people that are similar to me feels reassuring, of course, but also this edification that I'm on the right path, because I do believe we're living in a time of working together and not standing alone, right? Because when it's standing alone, maybe it worked in the 80s and 90s. Maybe it worked in the early 2000s. Standing alone does not work well in these times today. I have not experienced it once. You can maybe work at home, but if you are not in service of others, if you are not in service of a group that you're looking for everyone to win, you're getting left behind. And that's the world don't you? I mean, do you agree?
Absolutely.
I know that.
Yeah.
So talk about, where can people go to learn more about this, this service, this platform?
I can put a link over in the chat,
Oh,
or
perfect.
I'll grab that. If
Yes,
you want,
please do that.
okay, or if you want to email me, you can just put email me at info@circleofchi.com.
All right, I'm going to put that in here too.
Yeah.
info@circleofchi.com. Perfect.
And then put in your subject bar, living well today, so I know where we met. And
okay. Yes, I like that.
So yeah. But yeah, there's two different ways, and our community is just really embracing this. The first way is you can participate by getting a Visa debit card. Again, it's in pre-launch, so if you go to the website that we give you, you will sign up for the opportunity. The cards are supposed to be available in the next couple weeks by 11/11. And for $25,
we love that date, right?
I know. Isn't that awesome?
It's perfect.
But for $25, you can become a Visa card holder. That's a lifetime fee. And when I say double your buying power, what that means is if you're spending $70 on gasoline, you're going to get $70 in reward dollars. Okay. And so you're doubling your buying power. But here's the really cool thing. And this is why, I'm telling everybody, you want to sign up like as soon as possible. Through the first 12 months from the time they launch this. So it'll be sometime in November through sometime in November 2024. They are doubling our reward dollars. So if I'm spending $70 on gasoline, I'm going to get $140 in reward bucks the first year. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Just the first year. And then once it hits that plateau a year from now, then that will go back to the 1 for 1. But for the next year, it's 2 for 1.
Yes. Do you know any rewards program out there that's giving those kind of reward dollars?
No, heck no. And I know on my, I watch my frequent flyer miles, and I get all excited about the frequent flyer miles. And then I look and just see how many it takes to get a one-way flight, nonetheless, a round trip flight.
Right, right. Well, and
Yeah.
in their, it's a shopping club that they offer, and in the next 3 to 5 years, they want it to become like Amazon. So it's daily household things, toilet paper, paper towels, diapers, baby food, all that kind of stuff, tires for your car. They're going to have shoes and backpacks and all that kind of stuff.
Think what could you go and buy at Costco? Right?
Exactly. And so that's the ecosystem that they're creating, so that now we can use this debit card and do household shopping. And so if that's something that interests you, feel free to reach
Yeah.
out and I can answer
Oh,
any
I love it.
questions.
I love it. I'm excited to be a part of it myself, and I'll continue to share aspects of it too, because I do think it's important to support one another. And I think it's certainly important to increase your buying power. So with that,
Absolutely.
you can tell how excited you are, but
I know.
I have some quick questions for you. Share with me, what is it that you do when you're not working?
When I'm not, oh, go ahead.
Working, what is it, like creative projects? What do you love to do? What lights you up?
Creative projects in the summertime. I love container gardening. I love hanging out in the pool. I work. We've been incredibly busy because of how fast we're growing, and so downtime has been very important to me. So I love swimming. I love sitting in the hot tub, and I love sitting on our swing and watching the sunset.
I was going to say, I know that you love nature, and that's a very big part of living well today. And we talk about that you love your walks and your hikes. I know when we were in Missouri, you were like, we need to go here. This is where we got to go because it's so beautiful. You'll love the views. I think,
And then it rained.
and then it rained, and it was still beautiful, even in the rain. Right. And okay, so I've got some fast fire, quick fire questions for you that are just fun. All right. So here we go. What are your indulgences? If you had an indulgence, what would it be? Some say vice, but I like indulgence better. I think it's a better word.
I like indulgences also.
Yeah.
Probably Merv's chocolate here in St. Louis, which
Cool.
Wally just brought some home. My aunt had a birthday this past week, and he knows that's her favorite. And so he also picked up a package for me.
Yeah. Anyone out there, you can always give me chocolate. Like I'm never going to deny it. Okay. So what is your true north? If I said, Lanette, what are your 3 guiding principles, something that you just abide by consistently because it's who you are?
Well, that's easy because my life coach helped me set this up, and I have an alarm every day on my phone that goes off that reminds me that I am alive, playful, and grateful.
I love it. Oh, I love that. What's your favorite word?
My favorite word. Oh,
Yeah, I know there's so many.
That's a tough one. I think love.
Yeah. What's your least favorite? Least favorite word?
Well, and I say it, but I cringe when I say it. Crap.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't like that word either.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What do you love about where you live?
What I love here is it's quiet. There's trees, there's water, there's bonfires when we want. It's just a very relaxing place to call home.
Yeah, it sounds lovely. It sounds lovely. All right. And the final one is, if I'm asking your closest friends and colleagues and members of Circle of Chi, Wally, if I said Lanette Gerau is fill in the blank, what would you hope that they say?
Inspiring. She's
Mm.
love. And she's a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. And how about, because you've ventured into entrepreneurship and you left the corporate space and you've had as much transition as you've had over the years, Lanette, if you could impart words of wisdom to the younger Lanette, let's say knowing now what you know, and you're going back and you're saying, you're telling the 8-year-old Lanette or the 12-year-old Lanette, let's say middle school, because those are tough years, right? What would you tell the younger version of yourself, knowing what you know now?
Let go and live adventurously.
Mm, let it go. Yeah, I like that. Let it go. So for all of you who are on here and who will see this in time, Lanette and I both are wishing you all the very best for living well today. And Lanette, I want to thank you for taking time to educate and to give us your love and your energy and your words of wisdom. It's very appreciated.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. To everyone out there, God bless, be well, keep smiling, keep shining your own light. And most importantly, I think in these days, see the light in others, look for the light in others, because it is there. For most, it is there. And in you seeing it, maybe helps them see it too, right? So, all right, bye-bye for now. Take care, Lanette. Talk to you soon, hon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.